What if the person you were told was gone forever was sitting right in front of you, and you didn't even recognize her? The night glittered like money itself. Crystal lights spilled from the Grandridge Hotel, bouncing off polished marble and black luxury cars lined up at the curb. Men in tailored suits laughed loud, shaking hands like deals were already done. Women in designer gowns floated past the entrance, phones up, chasing perfect angles for perfect lives. Before we continue, please tell us, where in the world are you tunning in from? And if you believe that stories of kindness, everyday miracles, and ordinary people deserve to be shared even further, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss any journey like this one. Brian Carter moved through it all like he owned the night, because, honestly, he kind of did. 6 figures in the bank, 7 in assets. A reputation that made people listen when he spoke. His phone was pressed to his ear, Bluetooth glowing, voice clipped and confident. "We'll finalize Monday. I want 0 delays," he said, already thinking 3 steps ahead. Beside him, his 7-year-old son Noah struggled to keep pace. Noah's small hand was wrapped tightly around Brian's, his other hand clutching a worn-out stuffed fox, faded orange, one ear stitched back on crookedly. The toy looked wildly out of place against marble steps and tailored coats. They turned the corner away from the hotel lights. The warmth vanished. The street narrowed. Neon signs flickered weakly. A closed cafe reflected puddles on cracked pavement. The noise of the city dropped into something quieter, heavier. Then Noah slowed. Brian barely noticed at first, but then a voice. Soft, fragile, almost carried away by the wind. Musical note, "You are my sunshine. My only sunshine." Musical note. Noah stopped cold. Near a boarded-up storefront sat a woman hunched beside a broken stroller. Her coat swallowed her frame, sleeves frayed and dirty. Blonde hair fell loose around her face as she rocked gently back and forth. Inside the stroller wasn't a baby. It was a stuffed bear, wrapped carefully in a faded blanket. The woman stroked its head like it could feel her touch. "SHH, mommy's here," she whispered. Brian's grip tightened. "Don't stare," he muttered. "Let's go." But Noah didn't move. His chest felt tight. That song, that voice, it hit something deep inside him. "Dad," Noah whispered. Brian sighed, already annoyed. Then Noah said the words that made his blood run cold. "That's Mom." Brian froze. The city noise faded. His heartbeat slammed in his ears. Slowly, too slowly, he turned back. The woman lifted her head for just a second. Streetlight flickered, and something inside Brian cracked. What if the accident report was wrong, and the woman he left behind wasn't dead at all? Brian didn't sleep that night. Not even close. The penthouse was quiet in the way expensive places always are. Thick walls, muted city noise, too much space to think. Lisa, his current wife, lay beside him facing the other direction, already drifting into that shallow sleep she slipped into every night. They hadn't talked much lately anyway. It was all surface-level stuff. Schedules, meetings, silence. But Brian's mind was loud. That voice kept replaying in his head. Musical note, "You are my sunshine." Musical note, same rhythm. Same soft drag on the last word. Same way the note dipped like it was cradling something fragile. He sat up abruptly, rubbing his face. "Get it together," he muttered to himself. "People lose it on the streets every day. Trauma, addiction, mental illness, that's all it was, had to be. Still, damn." He swung his legs off the bed and walked barefoot to his office. The floor was ice cold, grounding him. He opened his laptop, hesitating only a second before typing a name he hadn't looked up in years. Donna Carter. The folder opened instantly. Photos, old emails, medical records, then videos. His cursor hovered. Click. The screen filled with shaky footage from years ago, balloons bobbing, a cake smashed beyond repair, laughter everywhere. Donna sat on the couch wearing an oversized sweater, her blonde hair pulled into a messy ponytail. Baby Noah rested against her chest, fingers tangled in her necklace. And then she sang. Musical note, you are my sunshine, my only sunshine. Musical note, Brian's breath caught hard. Same pitch, same cadence, same everything. No way, he whispered. He slammed the laptop shut like it had burned him. But the damage was done. Memories rushed in, things he'd buried under success and excuses. The night of the accident, the icy bridge, the police officer's careful tone, presumed deceased, presumed. They never found a body. Brian reopened the laptop, this time pulling up the accident report. His eyes scanned fast, then slower. Passenger side impact, glass rupture, facial injury likely. His stomach dropped. The woman on the sidewalk had a scar, a faint one, right along her cheek. Brian leaned back in his chair, heart pounding like he'd just sprinted a mile. Across the hall, Noah stirred in his sleep. Brian walked into his son's room quietly. Noah lay curled on his side, clutching his stuffed fox like it was a lifeline. His lips moved slightly as if he was dreaming. Brian sat on the edge of the bed. "How the hell did you know?" he whispered. Kids notice things adults bulldozed over. The next morning, Noah sat at the kitchen table with his crayons. He didn't touch his cereal. Instead, he drew carefully, tongue poking out in concentration. Lisa walked past, coffee in hand. "What ray you drawing, champ?" Noah held it up. A woman, long yellow hair, a soft smile, a stroller beside her. "That's my mom," Noah said casually. "She's not dead, she's just lost." Lisa froze. The words hit harder than Brian expected. That afternoon, Brian drove without a destination, until he realized he was heading back to that dark side street. Same boarded-up store, same flickering light, and there she was, sitting beside the broken stroller, rocking, singing. Brian parked and stayed in the car, hands gripping the steering wheel. Because deep down, he already knew. Walking past her again wasn't an option, not this time. What happens when he finally speaks her name and she almost remembers it? Brian sat in his car for a long minute before getting out. The engine idled, low and steady, like it was waiting for him to decide who he was about to be. The businessman who crossed streets to avoid problems, or the father who couldn't ignore his kid's certainty anymore. He stepped out, shutting the door softly. No suit this time, no polished confidence, just a gray coat, hands shoved into his pockets, heart doing way too much. The woman sat exactly where she had been the night before. Same broken stroller, same worn blanket, same stuffed bear cradled like it was breathing. She rocked gently, whispering nonsense words that only made sense to her. Brian stopped a few feet away. "Hey," he said quietly. Her rocking paused. Slowly she looked up. Up close the years showed. Sun-worn skin, tired eyes, and that scar, thin, pale, unmistakable, cutting across her cheekbone. She stared at him like he was a stranger who didn't belong in her world, which, to be fair, he didn't. "Sorry," Brian added quickly. "Didn't mean to scare you." She nodded once but didn't speak. Her arms tightened around the bear. Brian crouched, keeping distance. He remembered how Donna used to hate when people hovered. Some things don't change, even when everything else does. "That song you sing," he said. "You sing it a lot." Her eyes flickered. "It helps him sleep," she murmured. Brian swallowed. "Your son," she nodded again, slower this time. "His name is Leo." The name hit him like a punch to the chest. Leo, not Noah, but close enough to hurt. "Where is he?" Brian asked gently. Her mouth trembled. "I lost him." She looked down at the bear. "But he comes back at night, in my dreams." Brian felt his throat tighten. This wasn't pretending. This wasn't an act. This was a broken memory trying to survive. "I think," he said carefully, "that maybe he didn't get lost." Her fingers stilled. "What do you mean?" she asked, voice barely above a breath. "I think," Brian continued, choosing every word like it could shatter glass, that maybe someone found him and he's been waiting for you. Her breathing quickened. Panic flashed across her face. No, she whispered. If he was okay, I would know. Brian didn't argue. Instead, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded drawing. Noah's drawing. He held it out. The woman stared at it, eyes wide. Her hand shook as she reached for the paper. That's me, she whispered. Brian nodded. And that's him, she added, pointing at the small boy in the picture. Tears welled up, spilling over before she could stop them. I didn't forget him, she said, voice cracking. I just lost the road back. Brian stood slowly. I'm going to come back tomorrow, he said, with someone who misses you more than you know. She didn't answer, but she didn't look away either. And as Brian walked back to his car, he realized the truth. This wasn't about proving who she was. It was about whether she could survive remembering. What happens when a child meets the mother who remembers him, but doesn't know his face? Brian didn't tell Noah where they were going. He just said, "Trust me, buddy," and that was enough. Noah sat in the back seat, legs swinging, stuffed fox tucked under his arm. He stared out the window as the city shifted from clean streets and tall buildings to cracked sidewalks and flickering lights. The farther they drove, the quieter Brian became. "You okay, Dad?" Noah asked. Brian forced a smile. "Yeah, just thinking." Truth was, his nerves were shot. He had rehearsed this moment 100 times in his head, and every version ended differently. Some were hopeful. Some were a complete train wreck. He parked a block away. "I need you to stay close to me," Brian said as they stepped out. "No running ahead, all right?" Noah nodded seriously. "I won't." The woman was there, same spot, same stroller, same bear. She looked up when she heard footsteps and stiffened when she saw Brian again. Then her eyes dropped to Noah. Time slowed. Noah stopped walking. His chest tightened the same way it had the first night. "That's her," he whispered. "That's my mom." Brian crouched beside him. "You don't have to do anything," he said softly. "We can leave any time." Noah shook his head. He stepped forward. The woman watched him like she was staring at a ghost, something familiar but impossible. "Hi," Noah said. Her lips parted. No sound came out. "You sing to me," Noah added, "even when you think I'm asleep." Her hand flew to her mouth. "I don't," she started, then stopped. Her breathing turned uneven. "I sing to my son," Noah nodded. "That's me." The words hit hard. Brian felt it in his chest like something collapsing inward. The woman stood suddenly, swaying. Brian moved instinctively but stopped himself. She knelt instead slowly, like she was afraid sudden movement would break the moment. "I don't remember your face," she whispered to Noah, tears streaking down her cheeks. "But I remember your laugh." Noah smiled, small and steady. "You used to say I laughed like hiccups." She let out a broken sob. Her fingers brushed Noah's sleeve, then froze. "Can I?" she asked. Noah nodded. She pulled him into a careful hug like she was holding glass, and then she smelled him. Soap, clean clothes, warmth, her body shook. Brian turned away, jaw tight. "I didn't forget you," she whispered into Noah's hair. "I swear I didn't." "I know," Noah said. "You were just lost." She laughed through tears. "Yeah, I guess I was." She pulled back slightly, eyes searching his face. Then she noticed the fox. Her breath caught. "That was yours," she said slowly. "You named him Rocket because he lost an ear." Noah's eyes widened. "You remember." Something snapped into place. Her hand rose to her cheek, fingers brushing the scar. The bridge, the crash, the screaming, her knees buckled. Brian caught her this time. "I've got you," he said quietly. "You're safe." She looked up at him, eyes clearing just enough to recognize what she'd lost and what she hadn't. "You didn't give up on him," she said. Brian shook his head. "Neither did you." She closed her eyes, breathing hard. For the first time, the memories didn't push her under. They pulled her back. But remembering is only the beginning. What happens when the truth threatens to tear their new life apart? The name didn't come all at once. It slipped out of her like a secret she'd been guarding from herself. That night, Brian brought her somewhere warm. Not home. Not yet. A small furnished apartment his assistant used to crash in during late projects. Neutral colors, clean sheets. No sharp edges, no overwhelming memories, just quiet. She sat on the edge of the bed, hands folded so tightly her knuckles went white. The stuffed bear rested in her lap. Noah's fox sat beside it, ear still crooked. Brian hovered near the doorway, unsure where he fit. "You don't have to stay," she said suddenly, voice low. "I know," he replied. "But I want to," she nodded, eyes unfocused. Her mind was busy sorting broken pieces that refused to line up. Later, after Noah fell asleep on the couch, curled around his fox, the woman stood by the window. City lights blurred into soft streaks. "My head feels like static," she said, "like too many channels playing at once." Brian leaned against the wall. "You don't have to force anything," she exhaled shakily. "I'm scared if I remember too much, I'll fall apart." "You didn't," he said gently. "You're still standing." She closed her eyes. Images flashed. A bridge at night, ice on metal, a scream that tore her throat raw, then a name. "Leo." She froze. Brian's heart skipped. "My son," she whispered. "His name is Leo." The word felt solid in her mouth, real. She pressed a hand to her chest and let out a shaky laugh that turned into tears. "I didn't lose everything," she said. "I lost time." Brian swallowed hard. "He goes by Noah now." She nodded slowly, absorbing it. "That's okay. Names change. Love doesn't." The next morning, Noah woke early. He padded into the bedroom quietly, Fox dragging behind him. He stopped when he saw her sitting up in bed. She smiled, not confused, not distant, real. "Good morning, Leo," she said softly. Noah froze. Then his face cracked into the biggest grin Brian had ever seen. "You remembered," Noah whispered. She opened her arms. He ran straight into them. Across the room, Brian felt something break loose inside him. But peace never lasts that easy. Later that day, Brian's phone rang. Lisa. He stepped into the hallway. "Where are you?" she asked. No anger, just tired truth. Brian hesitated. "I found her." Silence. Then, "I figured," she exhaled slowly. "You've been halfway gone for years, Brian." "I know." "So what happens now?" He looked back through the door, at Noah laughing softly, at the woman holding him like she was afraid he might vanish. "I don't know," Brian said honestly. Lisa's voice softened. "Just don't lie to yourself anymore." The call ended. Brian stood there, phone heavy in his hand, because remembering a name was one thing, but reclaiming a life, that was about to cost everyone something. When the truth finally comes out, who walks away and who gets left behind? The truth never stays quiet. Brian learned that fast. By the third day, the questions started rolling in like a bad storm. Calls he didn't answer. Emails he didn't open. A message from his lawyer marked urgent. Another from his assistant asking why a private apartment was suddenly off limits. He shut his phone off. For once, the boardroom could wait. Inside the apartment, life moved slow and careful, like everyone was afraid one wrong move might shatter the peace they'd borrowed. Donna, she said her name was Donna now that it felt safe to say it, sat at the small kitchen table with Noah, helping him color inside the lines. Her hands still shook sometimes, but less than before. "Blue or green?" she asked. "Green," Noah said. "Blue feels sad today." Donna smiled. "Yeah, I get that." Brian watched from the doorway, chest tight. This looked right, too right, which meant it wasn't going to come easy. That afternoon, a knock hit the door, sharp. Firm. Brian stiffened. "I'll get it," he said quickly. He opened the door to find Lisa standing there, coat on, eyes tired but steady. "I figured this is where you'd be," she said. No anger. That somehow made it worse. Inside, Donna looked up, instantly alert. She didn't retreat, but she didn't relax either. Lisa took one look at her and nodded once. "So it's really you." Donna swallowed. I didn't mean to come back like this. Lisa studied her for a long moment. Life doesn't ask permission. Noah stepped forward. Hi, he said politely. I'm Noah. I used to be Leo. Lisa's lips trembled. She crouched to his level. You must be really brave. He shrugged. I just missed my mom. That did it. Lisa stood, eyes shining. Brian, she said quietly, we need to talk. They stepped into the hall. You can't pretend this doesn't change everything, she said. I know. You still love her. Brian didn't deny it. Lisa exhaled. Then don't drag me through the middle of it. When she left, the apartment felt smaller. That night Donna didn't sleep. She paced, rubbing her arms like she was cold even with the heat on. I don't want to ruin his life, she whispered. Brian shook his head. You're not ruining anything. You're fixing something that broke a long time ago. She looked at him, eyes full of fear. What if I break it again? Before he could answer, Noah appeared in the doorway, half asleep. Mom, he murmured. Donna knelt instantly, pulling him close. I'm here, she said. I'm not going anywhere. Brian watched them and realized the truth. The world was about to judge them. Lawyers, custody, headlines. But none of that mattered as much as this. A child who had his mother back. And a mother fighting to stay. When the outside world steps in, will love be enough to keep them together? The envelope arrived without warning. Plain, white, no return address. Brian found it wedged under the apartment door early that morning like it had been slid in quietly, hoping not to be noticed. But he noticed. His stomach dropped the second he saw the logo stamped in the corner, Family Services. He stood there longer than he meant to, fingers tightening around the paper until the edges bent. Donna watched from the kitchen, sensing the shift. What is it? She asked. Brian didn't answer right away. He opened it. A formal notice, clinical language, cold as hell, custodial status under review. Biological confirmation required, DNA test. Donna's knees buckled. She grabbed the counter. They think I'm lying, she whispered. No, Brian said quickly. They don't know anything yet. But that was the problem. To the system, she wasn't a mother. She was a risk. Later that day, the office smelled like disinfectant and cheap coffee. Donna sat stiffly in the chair, hands folded tight in her lap. A social worker flipped through papers like this was just another case. Do you consent to genetic testing? The woman asked. Donna hesitated. What if it says I'm not? She asked quietly. Brian turned to her. Then we fight anyway, she nodded. The needle prick was small, but the weight of it wasn't. Noah watched everything, unusually quiet. Are they taking my mom away? He asked as they left. Brian knelt in front of him. No one's taking anyone. This is just paperwork stuff. Noah frowned. Paperwork messes things up. He wasn't wrong. That night Donna broke, not loudly, no screaming, no drama, just silent tears soaking into the pillow while she stared at the wall. I don't belong anywhere, she whispered. Not with you. Not with him, not anywhere. Brian sat beside her. That's the fear talking. What if the test takes him from me? Brian didn't sugarcoat it. Then I'll tear the whole system apart to get you back to him. She turned toward him, eyes red. You don't owe me that. Yes, I do, he said. I should have looked harder. I should have stopped that night. Across the hall, Noah listened. He climbed out of bed and walked into the living room holding his fox. I don't need a test, he said firmly. She's my mom. Donna pulled him into her arms, shaking. The waiting was worse than the test. Days dragged. Donna jumped every time the phone buzzed. Brian barely ate. Then the call came. Brian put it on speaker. Results confirm a biological match, the voice said. She is the child's mother. Donna collapsed into the chair. Noah cheered. Brian closed his eyes. Relief flooded the room, but it didn't last. Because the voice continued. However, further evaluation will determine custody placement. The fight wasn't over. It was just getting real. When the system steps in, will blood be enough to keep a family together? The story didn't stay private. It never does. Brian noticed it first when a black SUV idled across the street longer than normal. Then came the missed calls, from numbers he didn't recognize, from people who suddenly just wanted to check in. By noon, his assistant sent a single text. "This is getting out. Press caught wind of family services involvement." Brian cursed under his breath. Donna sat at the kitchen table, hands wrapped around a mug she hadn't touched. "What's happening?" she asked. "They're sniffing around," Brian said. "Media, blogs, the usual vultures." Her face drained of color. "I can't do that again. I can't be stared at like I'm broken." "You're not broken," he said, firmer than he felt. "And I won't let them eat you alive." But the knock came anyway, not loud, polite, the worst kind. A woman stood outside with a badge and a clipboard. "I'm with Child Services. We need to talk." The apartment felt smaller instantly. Noah sat on the couch, Fox tucked under his chin. He watched the adults with narrowed eyes like he knew this was bad news. The caseworker walked through the apartment slowly, noting everything. Clean counters, stocked fridge, extra blankets folded neatly. "You've made progress," the woman said to Donna, "but progress doesn't erase risk." Donna clenched her jaw. "I'm not a danger to my son." "No," the woman replied carefully. "But your past raises concerns." Brian stepped in. "Her past includes surviving trauma and living on the streets because the system failed her." The woman didn't argue. She just wrote something down. That afternoon, a headline broke online. "Missing mother found after 5 years, custody battle looms." The comments were brutal. "She's unstable. Kid deserves better. Money always wins." Donna shut the laptop, hands shaking. "They don't see me. They see a headline." Brian knelt in front of her. "Then we show them the truth." But the truth came with a price. That night Donna packed a bag. Brian caught her at the door. "What are you doing?" "I'm stepping back," she said, eyes wet but steady. "If I leave, they can't use me against him." "No," Brian said sharply. "That's exactly what they want." She shook her head. "I won't let my presence cost him everything." Noah appeared behind them. "You're not leaving," he said. Donna knelt, cupping his face. "Sometimes moms do hard things to protect their kids." He shook his head hard. "Running is what made you lost." The words hit her like truth she couldn't dodge. She dropped the bag. The next morning, Brian made a decision that would change everything. He called a press conference. Not for damage control, for honesty. He stood in front of cameras without notes, without spin. "My son's mother was never gone," he said. "She was failed, and I was part of that failure." Donna watched from the back, heart pounding. Brian didn't flinch. "This isn't a comeback story," he continued. "It's a responsibility story, and I'm not stepping away from it." The room went quiet. Donna realized something then. This fight wasn't just hers anymore. The world was watching. And for the first time, she wasn't hiding. But when the judge finally hears the case, will truth matter more than reputation? The courthouse didn't look dramatic from the outside. No flashing lights. No shouting crowds. Just stone steps, metal detectors, and the kind of silence that made every breath feel too loud. Donna's hands shook as she stood at the entrance, smoothing down a borrowed coat that still smelled faintly like someone else's perfume. She hated that. Hated feeling like a guest in her own life. Brian noticed. "You don't have to be perfect," he said quietly. "Just be real." She nodded, but fear still flickered behind her eyes. Inside, the courtroom felt colder than it should have. A judge sat high above them, unreadable. A court-appointed attorney flipped through files like this was just another Wednesday. Donna sat straight, hands folded, fighting the urge to disappear. The caseworker spoke first. She talked about stability, history, risk factors. Words like homelessness, mental health concerns, uncertain recovery landed like stones. Donna stared at the table. Then Brian stood. "No one's denying the past," he said, But the past isn't the full story. He talked about therapy, medical reports, progress. He talked about nights Donna stayed up just to make sure Noah was breathing, about the way Noah slept better when she was near. Then the judge turned to Donna. "Do you wish to speak?" Her throat tightened. She stood slowly. "I don't have fancy words," she began. "I lost years of my life, I lost myself, but I never lost him." She looked toward Noah, sitting beside Brian, feet not touching the floor. "I remembered him in my bones when my mind was gone," she continued. "And I'm still learning how to be whole again, but I'm here, every day, and I will keep showing up." The room was still. Then something unexpected happened. Noah stood. Brian reached for him, panicked. "Buddy, I want to talk," Noah said. The judge hesitated, then nodded. Noah took a breath. "Everyone keeps asking who's better," he said, "but nobody asked what I want." He looked at the judge. "I want my mom, I want my dad, and I don't want anyone to disappear again." Donna covered her mouth. The judge leaned back. After a long pause, she spoke. "Temporary joint custody will be granted," she said, "with continued evaluation." Relief hit like air after drowning. Donna's knees nearly gave out, but the word temporary echoed. Outside, reporters waited. Flashes went off. Brian shielded Donna and Noah. As they reached the car, Donna whispered, "It's not over, is it?" Brian squeezed her hand. "No, but today we didn't lose." That night, Donna sat alone by the window, staring at the city lights. Winning felt fragile, like glass, because she knew something else was coming. Something bigger than courtrooms. Healing. And that might be the hardest part of all. When the case is decided but the wounds remain, can a family truly move forward? Life didn't magically turn perfect after court. There were still check-ins, still therapy appointments, still nights when Donna woke up gasping, heart racing like she was back on that bridge again. But there were mornings too, quiet ones. Sunlight slipping through thin curtains. The smell of burnt toast because Brian still couldn't cook to save his life. Noah laughing at something stupid on TV, Fox tucked under his arm like always. Those mornings mattered more than any ruling. Donna sat in therapy once a week, learning how to live inside her memories without drowning in them. Some days were rough. Some days felt like wins. Healing wasn't a straight line, it was messy, awkward, and slow as hell. Brian learned, too, how to listen instead of fix, how to sit with guilt without letting it run the show, how to be present. One afternoon, Noah came home with a school assignment. "Family tree," he announced. Donna froze. Brian watched her carefully. Noah spread the paper out on the table. 3 stick figures stood under a big crooked tree. One had long yellow hair, one wore a tie, one held a fox. "It's okay if it's not normal," Noah said. "My teacher said families can look however they want." Donna's eyes filled. Later that night, after Noah fell asleep, Donna stood in front of the mirror. She traced the scar on her cheek, not with shame this time, but with acceptance. "I'm still here," she whispered, and for the first time she believed it. Weeks passed. Then months. The evaluations ended, the case closed. No press conference. No applause, just a letter in the mail, custody finalized. Donna sat down hard when she read it. Brian didn't say anything. He just held her while she cried, not like someone broken, but like someone finally safe enough to let go. That evening, Donna sat at the old piano in the community center. It was out of tune, keys chipped, nothing fancy. Noah sat in the front row. Brian stood in the back. Donna's hands trembled as she touched the keys. Then she played. Musical note, "You are my sunshine, my only sunshine." Musical note, her voice wasn't perfect, but it was strong. This time she didn't sing it like she was afraid of losing him. She sang it like she had him. When the last note faded, Noah ran to her and wrapped his arms around her waist. "You didn't get lost again," he said. Donna laughed through tears. "No, baby, I'm home." Outside, rain began to fall, soft, steady. Brian opened an umbrella, then paused and closed it. Donna looked at him, confused. "We don't need it," he said. "We're not hiding anymore." They stepped into the rain together, not perfect, not healed all at once, but whole, because some people aren't gone, they're just finding their way back. If this story touched your heart, remember, sometimes the people we think we lost forever are still out there, waiting to be found.